Well, hey, Gail, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Sarah? Thanks for having me on again.
Yes, I have to say, the clip I took of you when you said regenerative is life is like the closest thing to viral we've ever had, which sadly is not that close, but still, it's a very loved clip. So I have to thank you, get a chance to thank you for that. It was such a great, succinct definition of what it really is about. And I'm excited today to get to talk more about the Fuller Field School and what that is, what you're doing with it, and who might be able to join, and all of that good stuff. So to start us off, I know the story behind your Fuller Field School also includes our Jill Clapperton. So I'm thrilled about that. So maybe just share with folks the story of how this all. Well, first, what is it, and then how did it all get started?
Sure. And yes, Jill played a very integral part helping us co-found the school. It really started 12, 13 years ago out in the middle of a cornfield. Jill was working with us at the time on intercropping and companion cropping. And she goes, do you ever want to have a workshop? And we started having the conversation. And really, the first year was designed as a cover crop workshop. It was a 2-day conference, but Jill was adamant about a couple of things. We weren't going to call it a workshop. We were going to call it a school because it was a place to learn. And there's just, there's a lot of meetings that go on that we kind of call them the free donut meetings, that you show up, you might learn something, you get a free donut and a free coffee or a free lunch, and that's about it. And so she was adamant this was going to be a place to come hands-on learn. She wanted us to source as much as the food as we could locally for this event. And we were already starting to play around with trying to grass finish beef and doing some things like that for ourselves. We really weren't into direct marketing yet. And I loved that idea. And then at the first field school in 2012, so the speakers at the first go around, obviously Jill was one of them. Jonathan Lundgren was one of the speakers. David Brandt, who just left us unfortunately way too soon, and Doug Peterson. And I think there was a bit of an aha moment for me, even though this was a quote unquote cover crop workshop. Jill did one of her presentations on food. And at the age of 40 years old, it was the first ag conference I ever attended where anybody talked about food.
Huh. Wow.
It was exactly.
That's
it
something.
was a sad eye opener for me. And it really sent the school in a completely different direction from all other ag workshops, in that we, from year one on, we have taken a direct look at the health of soil and how it parallels the health of humans, the gut microbiome, the soil microbiome, carbon flow, water cycle, energy, all of these. And it's kind of been outside the box from day one.
Well, and if folks don't know about the transformation you're doing on your farm, I'm going to point them to the other podcast episode we did interviewing you, where you talk all about that, which is an amazing story. And of course, you're kind of a minor ag celebrity. If you Google yourself, you find all sorts of great people have interviewed you, and there's lots of great videos. So definitely look up Gail Fuller and learn more about the transition that he did and is still doing on the farm. But part of that has led to then the ability. So you're in Kansas and you have fruit trees, and you have, is it, you have sheep or cattle or
so today we are direct marketing grass finished beef and lamb.
All
we
right.
also have pastured pork, chicken, ducks, and yes, we have fruit trees, and we've just finished planting about 100 nut trees, acorn, chestnut, different things that we will use someday to help finish our pork, so we can start to pull our pigs off of as much grain as they're getting. We want them doing more foraging and less feeding at the trough.
I can see it now. Chestnut finished pork. I mean, that's going to be, the Kansas City folks will love that. Yes, they will.
Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
We all will. We all should. We all would love it. So that's an incredible story. And then that is what makes it possible to kind of not only locally source, but you're probably getting to the point where you could source the whole dinner from your farm.
That's the whole idea is, we're already setting the goal of sourcing all of our food off
Mhm.
farm. If I didn't have a love for fish and seafood,
Mhm.
we would be very, very close to that now. But we're still sourcing things. We still struggle getting our vegetables,
Mhm.
getting a year's supply of vegetables, and in even the fruit. We have, for example, we have 2025 peach trees, and we've only had one peach harvest in our first 4 years here. So,
Oh,
the wild weather swings, whatever, it's becoming more and more of an issue growing food. So
yeah.
I think even people that have that mindset of supplying themselves, it's just becoming more and more difficult in today's world.
So the field school is coming up in September. Is that when that's when it's happening?
Yes, we tried two field schools this year. So we had one in April that focused on water, the water cycle, and with a kind of a side conversation on new economy. And then we've got another field school coming up September 21st and 22nd. We've got Farm Her from North Dakota, DeAnna Lozensky.
Member of our
She's going to
community. Yeah. Mhm.
exactly a member of this community, and I think a very, very big part of the community that
Yes.
you and Jill have here.
Yeah.
And we want DeAnna to kind of focus on her marketing and how she's building her community in North Dakota.
Yeah.
Because there's so many farmers out there today that are ready to take the next step. They're growing regenerative products, but there's just the only way to market them is into the conventional system, and that's not financially viable for anybody. So I think DeAnna's story is fantastic. So she's going to be one of our keynotes, and the other one is Jeff Goebel from New Mexico. Jeff's been in this game longer than any of us probably. He's worked on just about every continent in the country, and Jeff's really good at he's a holistic educator, but he's really built his name on resolving conflict.
Mm.
And I think in a world that becomes uglier and more divided every day, we really need somebody like Jeff to come in and help us have difficult conversations either within our community or if we venture into a meeting in the conventional ag world, say, and how can we make gain without causing further divide?
Mm-hmm. Well, I know, and you've done a lot of at least thinking about and maybe work on too the importance of regenerating the farmer as well as the land, and that was also a part of our conversation in the last podcast. I found really important, and I know that's important for especially these farmers that are trying to become a brand and take on that additional piece or bring their food directly to consumers, because it's a whole other skill set and stress level, and it's valuable, it's important, it's wonderful. But I
Yeah.
wonder, is that part of what you're going to discuss, the whole, farmer as well as the land piece of it in the field school?
Yeah, absolutely. It will be discussed. And we've kind of revamped the field school a little bit in the last couple of years. We do a lot less talking to attendees and a lot more talking with attendees.
That's
And
great.
the attendees, every year, it seems like they have a bigger and bigger say and role in how the school comes out. And we've just seen that after a day of talking to people, on day two, their brains are full and they have questions and they have input. And so we do a lot more with breakout sessions that aren't as much of a speaker talking to them as much as there's a topic and there's group leaders and everybody gets a chance to participate, to voice their concerns, questions, or share their ideas of what's working. And yes, we think that there's no way we can regenerate a farm in America or anywhere else for that matter if we're not working on regenerating the farmer. So aside from the field school, we're also working at putting together a series of workshops, myself and Sarah Keogh, on just I'm working just on the farmer. And I think once these farmers are starting to put focus on themselves first instead of the farm first, they're seeing the farm is actually making better headway
Yeah.
when it isn't the focus. When we start working on the farmer first, it's a lot easier to start working on the farm.
Yeah. The field school, is it mainly for farmers or only for farmers, or how does that work? Like if there's just somebody interested in food that wanted to learn and jump in, they could?
The school is open for everybody. We have a lot of farmers.
Mhm.
It's still farmer heavy, but we have a lot of government agency people show up, a lot of
Thank
NGO.
goodness. Thank goodness.
Yeah, we
They
would like
need
to see
go.
more.
Yeah.
We would definitely love to see more, but we do get representation At the last couple of field schools here in Kansas, we've had the Kansas Water Office, Department of Ag, KDHE has shown presence in the past, and Kansas Alliance of Wetlands and Streams and others. And we also get a lot of non-government organizations, environmental organizations show up. And we had a workshop here last week where we just hosted the Igdisis Foundation and Jonathan Lundgren for a half-a-day workshop where he presented the data from the Thousand Farms Initiative from year one. And, we had a school teacher signed up from Kansas City to come to, we get a little bit of everybody, and that's what we want, because this is more than just about farmers. I think I keep telling people this is a paradigm shift, and we've got to overhaul the economy. We've got to overhaul education, and it's going to take all of us doing things in a new way to try to get this message across.
I've just been reading this book, Brain Energy, which talks about like the root of all these diseases coming back to the mitochondria, coming back to food. And so, we've talked about food as medicine, but really it's food as health, or food is disease. Like, it's so much more than just turn toward a special diet when you discover you have a problem. And you've been really at the core of that. I know you've had your own experiences with that awakening. And so the field school would be a great place for people that are interested in that and just understanding the role that food and nutrition plays. And then, well, how do you optimize growing it? And so do you get into some of the discussions about practices in regenerative agriculture and swapping stories of what works, or is it not that kind of a time?
We will talk about that some. We kind of talk more about principles and practices and helping people set goals and things like that. And while there really isn't anything on the agenda to talk about, cover crop production or pastured pork, those things still creep into the conversation, and we don't stop that. We welcome it, because that's still part of it. And we'll do a session out in the field, usually on day one, and we'll usually talk about one of our enterprises. Lynette's gone out with the pigs before, and we've done a session just on the pastured pork, and so we will do some things like that also. So there's nothing off the table at these schools. We'll talk about anything, but I think it's more principle driven. I think if people have their goals and their principles for their farm, the practices tend to fall in place behind that. Not that we aren't going to talk about that, but there's a lot of cover crop workshops. There's a lot of soil health. There's a lot of workshops on grazing. We may do one in the future that's focused on grazing, but the one coming up here in September, we're basing it more on marketing and conversations and storytelling.
And then the connections that people get coming to this, so they probably get to meet and connect with farmers in the regenerative space from all over the country. Do you get people from Canada coming too, or other parts of the world, or is it what's the spread of people?
Yeah, we get people from all walks of life. Pre-COVID, so before our first 7 or 8 field schools, we actually had more people from overseas than we had from in county every single year. Obviously, that changed with the travel issues with COVID. So we went a couple of years. In fact, I don't think we've had any overseas attendees now since COVID, but we will still get people from 10, 15, 20 states easily show up, Canada. So we draw from a wide, audience base for sure.
And the location, I know your farm is in Severy. Is that where the school's at?
Yep. Beautiful Severy, America.
All right. What's the biggest town near you?
So the biggest town is Severy. It's a booming metropolis of 154 people.
All right.
And we do have the community center rented there as a backup in case we get rain or whatever. But we've always had an outdoor portion of the field school, and it was always the favorite part for everybody when we actually went out in the field. And I mean, for me, I learn a lot more if I can see it, smell it, taste, all of those things. I'm more that way than a chart, looking at charts. So that for me was always popular. And I think it was for the attendees. So when COVID did hit in 2020, we still wanted to have the school, and we had Donegal Markegard and Jonathan Lundgren signed up to do as our speakers. Jonathan had to back out at the last minute, and lo and behold, who stepped in but Jill. And we were all pretty adamant that, now more than ever, we need to get together and talk about this, because I still believe COVID was just a warning shot. Mother Nature is getting tired of the way we've abused her planet. And I think we're going to see things like this get worse and worse. So it's time to be talking about our immune systems and stuff. So we had our school in 20, we got a window late in the summer, and we were able to have the whole thing outside.
Oh, wow.
And it was so popular that we've done it that way ever since. So we've moved the entire school outside, weather permitting, and there's just something about sitting outside under a tree learning. It's so much better than sitting inside in a classroom.
Oh, yeah. And I saw on your website that camping was an option. Do people come and camp out at the farm?
Yeah, so when we moved the farm from Emporia to Severy, one of the downsides is we moved away from a town of 25,000 to a town of 150.
Right.
Not exactly loaded with hotel
Hotels.
options.
Yeah.
So we do have a couple of hotel options about 15-minute drive from the farm. So we are able to host people, but we decided to give people the option to come and camp also. And yeah, we had I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was 30 or 40, Lynette's saying 44 people camped here at last fall's field school.
Oh,
So
my goodness.
a lot of tents are pitched at people, it's just, and when you've got that many people staying on the farm, it is a little bit of a logistics issue for Lynette and I, because now we have to bring more food and things like that in. But when you've got that many people sleeping here on the farm, it's just the community aspect to it. It's awesome. It's really a lot of fun for a couple of days.
Well, I would say, my goodness, just going for those campfire discussions would be probably worth it, let alone all the other. I mean, this is a great, time to share stories and build relationships informally. There doesn't seem to be many opportunities like that anymore.
No, and I think in the last 4 or 5 years, whether it's at our field school or if Lynette and I are attending workshops or conferences or anywhere, it just seems like we're completely bombarded with people trying to find community. That just, it seems to be, I think we all seem a little isolated. We all seem a lot isolated.
Yeah.
If we're a regenerative farmer, we might be the only 1 or 2 or 3 in the county. And, you just, regardless of what you're doing in life, it seems like we're on an island and we're not getting that time together. And so that's, camping here just gives them more hours of networking and sitting around the campfire instead of in a hotel room or a bar after a workshop. And it's a better way for people to network. Another thing that has really changed about the school is the kid aspect. It's not uncommon to have 10, 15, 20 kids here at the school. And they may be out just free ranging the farm, but it's not uncommon to see a 10 or 12-year-old sitting at a discussion, partaking in the discussion during the school itself. So, and
Wow.
Exactly. And that's our future. Why aren't they given a microphone more often? And it's amazing, what comes out of them and the questions and the thought process. They know more about what's going on than we think they do.
Mm-hmm. Wow, this just sounds like a really special time. And how long is it? It's 2 days or?
Yeah, it's 2 days. The first day is a very full day. We cram a lot into it. We start at 8:30 in the morning, and we have our outdoor sessions, and then we finish with a catered dinner here that evening around 6 o'clock for those that want to stick around. It's a really full day. And then on day 2, we usually end around 3 or 4 o'clock for those that are driving can make it back home that night. And by 3 o'clock on day 2, there's no room left for ideas or food. So we're all pretty well stuffed to the brim.
Yeah. And you've talked about these dinners in the past, but that's a really special time too, because I know you encourage people to sit together with people that they don't normally talk to, and that there's something about breaking bread with people, like an environmentalist and a farmer that maybe don't understand each other, but when they have that real experience, it goes a long way toward seeding something.
Yep. So food is a huge priority at the field school. And again, Jill helped us get that started the first year. And we've just taken it to another level after that. We invite local chefs to come in for each meal. So we have 3 meals here with the field school: lunch 2 days, and then supper, dinner. the night of the first night. And we invite chefs from Wichita and Emporia for different meals to come put their spin on food. And we source as many of the ingredients off our farm and our neighboring farms as we can. And the snacks are provided by other farms that, we have farmers that are making cheese and farmers that make yogurt and broth, and you just never know what's going to be on the snack table. It's incredible. And now people realize that, and they're just bringing stuff from their farms and saying, here, put this on the table. And so that's added another aspect to it. And then we take longer lunch breaks. Most conferences take 30 minutes, maybe an hour. We take 90 minutes for lunch every day. And there's, during that 90 minutes, people can go wander the farm, they can take a nap, more networking. Somebody's going to break out an instrument and start singing. It's a time to kick back and relax. And that's, we're trying to slow down. And that's the whole part of regenerating the farmer part is we've got to slow down. And we introduce the chefs, and we introduce the farmers that supplied the food for the meal. So everybody kind of gets, they get at one with the food. And then, we are having farm to table dinners aside from the field school. We bring in other chefs. We got one slated for September with one of the top chefs in Kansas City. So we're really looking forward to that. And so, food, we want food to be an event again. And it's an educational time, and time to put away our differences and enjoy a meal and talk about something besides politics.
How well attended does it sell out? Or is there a waiting list? I mean, do people need to worry about, do they need to get their tickets now?
Yeah, we have built a pretty good following, and we limit each of the field schools to 100 participants. And that way it's more about them, and everybody gets a chance that way. So it's limited to 100. Tickets are on sale now. We've sold out 2 of the last 3 field schools, and most of the time there's a waiting list. So it's a good time now to get your tickets. We're coming into the home stretch now, so it's time to be thinking about it.
Well, so the field school is wonderful, and obviously all the stuff that you're growing is great. So how else could people experience the food from your farm? I mean, are there places that you can talk about where you're sourcing now? Or
absolutely, they can come to our dinner in September, a couple weeks before the field school. We're going to have Chef Carlos Falcon from Kansas City. This is a separate dinner. This is just a farm to table dinner in September. We have on-farm hip camp and harvest host, which is tent camping and RV camping, where people can come spend the night with us and buy our product. And then we also have an Airbnb on the farm where people can come.
Wow. That's great.
We have all of those ways. Plus, we're also delivering food to Wichita, Kansas City, and Emporia on a monthly basis.
Oh, that's really great. That's a lot of work. I can only imagine growing the food, managing the Airbnb, do all the sourcing. But didn't you say about slowing down? I mean, wasn't that was part of what you're doing there? The cobbler has no shoes kind of thing.
That is the goal. But yes, we actually have, we are working on slowing down. It's difficult when you're a farmer, very difficult to do, but we've got to where we walk away from work at the end of the day because it's time.
Yeah.
And we're taking longer lunches during the summer, and we're spending some time inside in the heat of the day. And we're trying to take more time for ourselves. Lynette and I just got back 2 weeks ago for the first time in my farming career, which started in 1979. I took a summer vacation.
Oh my goodness.
So we are attempting it, but no, it's not easy.
Well,
old dogs don't learn new tricks very well.
Of course, yeah, but I think it does make a difference too when you're able to work on things you really love, as opposed to things that you have to do. And of course, there are always things you have to do, but it seems like so many of these ventures are out of a real passion project for you and Lynette, and I would assume that helps give energy and not just drain it.
Yeah, absolutely. And hosting these events is exhausting, but it fills our tank at the same time. That's kind of our place on this planet is growing community and making connections and helping fuel others. So that's how we get our tank filled up. If you enjoy what you do, it's less stressful, so that makes it more enjoyable. But still, I've just learned we got to be careful about not working 15, 20-hour days anymore. It's just,
Yes.
there's this mantra around agriculture that that's what you have to do. And, I guess I'm getting old enough now, I can see the finish line, and you start to question if you've done it all.
Mhm.
What did those 15, 20-hour days get you? And so I think we need to prioritize our lives and set some goals to make sure that when we do cross that finish line, that the memories that we had are what we wanted to have. So we're taking more time for ourselves. And it's, for people like us that are small scale regenerative farming, especially with animals, it makes it very difficult to leave because
Yeah.
they're animals and they still have to be fed. It's not like we're leaving the corn soybean fields for a couple of days that they can survive on their own.
Mhm.
The animals can. And so and we get this a lot, is people can't leave the farm because there's no one to do chores, because it's just the spouses and their kids. And we're working to find people to be farm sitters for us. I think there's people out there that are willing to do that. It takes work, and you've got to train them and things like that. But there's certainly a demand, if farm kids are wanting to travel around for a while before they settle down, start a farm sitting business, I think the demand for it's through the roof.
That is a great idea. I think what you're doing with the field school is so important and lovely at the same time. And so it's wonderful to have those things come together. So thanks so much for telling us about it. And I hope lots of people listening to us will check it out if they can't come, or if you're sold out, then, obviously take advantage of these other opportunities. When is the farm to table dinner, the other one?
September 16th. So it's 1 week before the field school on
Perfect.
Saturday night.
Well, thanks again, Gail, and good luck.
You bet. Thank you very much, Sarah.